Well, Lynn, let's start with a bit of squad news since last we spoke. A news signing. Talk to me about Adam and what you're hoping he'll bring to the squad.
Yeah, Adam's one that we've been watching for a little while. I think he obviously broke in and got some exposure to senior football at quite a young age in Ireland. So he's one that has had a taste of it. He's one that we're going to have to be a little bit patient with. He's going to need a little bit of time to adapt, to adjust, especially when you look at the change in the physical demands. So he's one that we're not expecting to have immediate impact, but one that we think's got really good potential.
Yeah, and looking at the sort of the age and the profile, is this a signing for now, but with a view to next season and beyond, or would you see him on the bench at some point this season?
I think the first bit is to see where he's at physically. I think in terms of just a couple of previous bits that I think such a demand when you look at the work that the guys do downstairs is incredible. So it's one that I think is going to be more for the future than straight away.
But technically, he certainly looks like when you can get him up to that kind of speed, he'll be able to offer you a few things that perhaps you don't have in the squad.
Yeah, and his qualities are there to see. Obviously, watched decent chunk of him. The recruitment guys have done a huge amount of work as well. So we really like the qualities he's got, and he's definitely going to complement the way that we play. So
that's the first new face to arrive. Anything else happening either in or out at the moment, or anything getting close?
No, not at the minute. Unfortunately, no news. I'll keep you updated when we get some. We're obviously working hard behind the scenes to try and progress and move forward on things. But at the minute, no news for you.
One bit of news was injury to Mark Sykes. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how long he's likely to be out?
Yeah, it's a really minor hamstring. It's nothing major. So we're looking at probably a few weeks before he's back. But nothing serious. Nothing like that's going to keep him out for a long time.
And you've been starting to sort of get bodies back closer. So Andy King obviously on the bench last time. Any of the others that are sort of close enough for this weekend or maybe the following one?
Yeah, Ross is close. Probably this weekend's a little too soon. He's now you probably see it as the back end of a pre-season. So Ross is full training. Played a part in an in-house game that we had recently. So he's very, very close. He's training really well and he's in a good spot. It's just that final stage for him now. So he'll be back very soon. As well, Hayden Roberts is progressing really well. Back in pretty much full training, but needs the extra workload on top. So he's again that one that we'll expect to see in the next couple of weeks.
And with Ross in particular, having been, I'm sure, so frustrated for long spells, having come down here, are you having to work extra hard just to rein him back because he'll be so desperate to get some kind, even to sit on a bench with a prospect of 5 or 10 minutes here or there?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I think that's the big bit. Not just because he's missed a lot of football, but also the type of character and personality is. He's driven, he's hungry. That's without the injury. So again, I think he's obviously come down here. He's been desperate, obviously, to make a good impression. So the injury's obviously set him back. So there's that element of wanting to go again. So he's one that's going to really complement the group. He's different to what we've got. And again, like I said, his character is, his drive, his communication, the way he talks and sets the standards, really, really impressive. So he's one that's, I'm really looking forward to seeing when he's back.
Having had such a hectic schedule like everybody else over Christmas, is a match like this weekend especially good timing in terms of it would be easy to be a bit jaded, but with a match like this, perhaps that's a lot more difficult? Yeah,
I think that's, of course, it's difficult, not right when you're playing a club like West Ham, Premier League side, it's difficult. Not to talk around raising your game. My ideal is that we hit that level every single week and we have the same approach, the same mindset, the same drive, determination, etc. every single week. That's what we're chasing. But I totally get it. Obviously, the history, the prestige of the competition as well adds that little bit extra. So it's Christmas was heavy. It was a full-on period. We asked quite a few individuals to. Massively pushed themselves when you look at areas that we couldn't make too many changes. Mainly the back four, we weren't able to rotate or change anything there, so they played every minute of every game. But what we've been able to do this week is give them a little bit of rest and then also have some time in the grass, which has been felt slightly strange because we've not had a huge amount of it. So it's been good to be able to get on the grass and do some work.
So from your point of view, this week is exactly the same as if it was you were playing Plymouth or Preston or whoever?
Yeah, for me, the same process. I think that every single game you go into, I think it's around showing the exact same level of respect to the opposition, doing the exact same level of work on them, creating the plan to get success. It's going through that same process no matter who you're playing for me.
Given your history with it, is it special for you even if you don't act any differently in terms of what you do to prepare your team?
Yeah, of course. It'd be nice going back there and seeing a few familiar faces. I had a terrific time there. I loved my 4 years there. It was a terrific club, but it feels forever ago now. Obviously, I had a few clubs since, so of course I have fond memories. But again, for me, I'm going back there, desperate to win for us.
Yeah, and you don't strike me as somebody who would sort of look at this and take stock, but it's not that long ago you were in that role, and you sort of look at where you've come since then. It's quite a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, I've not actually thought about that. Quite nice to hear, to be fair, in terms of sometimes the industry eats you up. It's that intense, it's that full on that you don't, well, I very, very rarely have those opportunities and moments to step back and kind of reflect on my journey. So it's one that, I've enjoyed, one, I've learned a huge amount, loving where I'm at now and excited by what we can do.
And knowing the way that football clubs are, the time you've been away, I would imagine there's not that many familiar faces you'll go back to.
There's still a couple of people I speak to, but yeah, it would have changed massively. The industry moves so quick and evolves so quick that, yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of people that I've got no idea who they are, but there's still one or two familiar faces that I still speak to.
Good stuff. So, as a test, what are you expecting from West Ham come Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, an extremely difficult one. I think if you look at the form they're on, the level of player, the organisation they've got, of course, you only have to see how they're doing in the Premier League and in Europe to see that, and obviously also their recent results. But that's them. I can't control any of that. I think it's a good opportunity for us to go into it and see what level we're at, what we're capable of. How we're able to execute the plan that we put in place and keep building, keep progressing, keep moving forward. And
from your point of view, what you can control is what you've been doing this week. 2 games without a goal. How concerned are you by that, bearing in mind you scored plenty in the couple before that?
Not concerned because of probably what you've just said there and what happened before that. We've obviously fought 4 against Watford, 3 against Hull, so I know goals are in the team. I was disappointed like everybody the second half against Millwall, as were the players, but again, I think that, like I said, I think sometimes you have to take the context of that game at the end of the run that we were on and where everything was at, in a game that for me should have just finished 0-0 and been one that we forgetted and moved on quickly from. So of course we do all the work that we need to make sure that we keep pushing forward, we keep progressing. There was lots of games before that where we were creating numerous chances and not taking them. Then we had a few games where we created lots and took lots, and then we've had 2 slightly frustrating ones where we've not created what we wanted to. But again, I think that some of that comes from the level of the setup of the opposition. I see it as an element of respect they give us by sitting off and blocking, which makes it difficult in the perspective, especially first half, and you've got loads of the ballers that you should create loads of chances, which isn't always the case. So again, I think we've used it as an opportunity to reflect on the work that we've been able to do. We actually looked at it. We've only had 9 team training sessions, proper sessions, since we've been here. So in the coming weeks, being able to get back on the grass to revisit some of the bits in terms of how do we create more will definitely be stuff that we're looking at.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With Ross, there's some under-21s games coming up. I just wondered if he'd be a consideration for them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he will. I think it's an important part of it. Like I said, he's kind of had to go through a pre-season. So again, I think the opportunity to get him match minutes and build him up that way, alongside obviously integrating him into the group, is finding that right balance ultimately. So we'll definitely be using those fixtures.
And how's Rob Atkinson? Just because we haven't heard about him.
Yeah, Rob's going well. So Rob's out on the grass. To be fair, given what happened previously, he's one not to rush. I think in terms of making sure that we do everything to get him in the best shape possible. But he's out on the grass doing modified stuff at the moment.
With the sort of the creativity issues, if you like, of the previous 2 games, if you're kind of taking it in the context of the volume of matches that they occurred within and the stresses on the squad, is it that energy that's kind of missing, or is there other aspects that you thought weren't quite there?
Yeah, twofold. I thought some of the bits around, for me, I spoke a lot around bravery, didn't I? Second half, I thought that was one in terms of whether it be mental fatigue and whatever it might be. It's hard to put your exact finger on it. I've watched it back a couple of times, but again, I think there's elements where again that will be a hangover for me a little bit of the sheer volume of pressure, intensity, demands, the responsibility we're asking the lads to take as well, which we mustn't forget is. What we're asking them to do is different to what they've done previously. So again, I think when you're at the back end of a period and we're challenging them that much mentally, like we spoke around, to maintain that highest level of focus and make the correct decisions, it does take its toll. So there's definitely that, and I do think there's an element of I do think we lack a little bit in terms of what I'd call an expert to play between the lines in pockets.
On that, then, that's obviously a desire for this month. The as it was reported for myself. Finn Azaz, what was a target? Would you be able to confirm that?
Yeah, Finn was one we liked. To be fair, Finn was one we were tracking. He, to be fair, he'd done well at Plymouth, and he's obviously made his decision to go to Middlesbrough. And again, I think that's one that, you know, numerous options, we're working hard, like I said, on alternatives of that position. So we had going into the window, we knew we had several targets to try and hit.
And how many of those type of players are around though?
There's a few. There's not. I wouldn't say there's loads of them. The ones that obviously they're, you know, ones that create and score are the hardest ones to find, and obviously, especially in a January window, tend to be the most expensive, understandably. So there's definitely profiles out there that we like, that we're you know, working hard to try and progress and move forward with. But they're bits, obviously, with only being open, what are we, 5th, 6th today? It you know, it takes a little bit of time.
Was it indicated to you why he chose Middlesbrough?
No.
Okay. In terms of the team for Sunday, I appreciate you're not going to say what it is, but with Mark not being there, because obviously he's just been a hugely important player for you in a number of roles down the right. Are you kind of thinking about altering things potentially? Does it open up the chance of maybe having another central striker, for example? Or will it be a case of one of Harry, Andy, Sam Bell, potentially Ephraim down the right?
Yeah, I think that's the bit for me. We've got options to step in and you know, like for like. So again, I think in terms of but what you don't want to do is go and completely change all the work you've done and everything just because you've had an injury. So for me, it will be, you know, small tweaks as opposed to major changes.
Can you remember what sort of coach you were at West Ham?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I can, roughly.
And like the obvious question would be, and I appreciate it's sometimes hard to sort of self-analyse yourself, but like how you've changed, like how you think about the game, what you would do in your process. Can you, yeah,
it's definitely. I think time gives you clarity for me. So I definitely leaving West Ham to go to New York definitely gave me. It was the first time I'd not taken a team and was overseeing, you know, the methodology element of it. So how do you implement a playing philosophy from top to bottom of an academy? So it actually was a really, really good opportunity to kind of step back and reflect on me, how I want to coach, how I see the game, and kind of refine that. So that period in New York was terrific for that. So before that, West Ham was a little bit like I am now in terms of obsessive, probably intense, over-analyse, over-reflect on everything, which again is a huge strength, but also a weakness at times, I think, as well. So again, definitely that individual work, which for me is so important and was massive for when I was at West Ham. So we used to call it IDPs there with Terry Wesley, who was terrific. And then definitely the tactical side. I think having the period in CFG and kind of the exposure to that, the tactical side, and just things like I think when you go from academy to senior football, I think in terms of game management, managing momentum in games, set pieces, things that, you know, become more important that you have to prioritise as well. So I've definitely grown, definitely learned a lot. Still obviously got areas to learn on, things to improve, but I've definitely grown and improved a lot since.
Because like the West Ham Academy is, well, Academy of Football, however they sort of, you know, brand it. I mean, did you get a sense of that when you were there? The history and the gravitas of it all?
Yeah, I don't think you can't not, especially with, you know, some of the staff, obviously large chunk in the academy. So especially when so many people in the academy that are fans that have been affiliated to the club for a long time, the East End of London, which again, you know, is a unique place. So you definitely feel the history. You definitely, you know, feel the way it was done. It's difficult not to, and especially when you're in it, there's definitely a certain thing that you know definitely has an impact on you while you're there.
Of the current squad, I appreciate there's not. Is it Johnson?
Yeah, Ben Johnson was one that worked with for a while.
And how was he? What was your time like with him? Was he? Sorry, excuse my ignorance. Was he always a right back? How did you kind of sort of see his career panning out?
Yeah, no. To be fair, Jono was. Actually, when I left, there was 3 lads that took me for dinner, and he was one of them. To be fair, yeah. So I got on really well with him. He, to be fair, he played higher up. As an under-16, he actually played higher up, played wide, played central. And actually, as he kind of went through the youth team, and then as he came across to us with the 23s, he gradually transitioned back to right back, and he's done a terrific job. I actually went up to, he made his debut away at Man City, which I drove up to with Steve Potts, who was the assistant at the time. We drove up there and watched it, and I remember, I think in one game he played against Mahrez, Sterling and Silva, I think, in one game, which was a terrific debut, right? So no, he's a terrific character, and like I said, I'm delighted to see him forging a career in the game.
Just last one on the creativity. Forgot to ask. Birmingham, if you sort of take Birmingham, Millwall, and appreciating the context of Christmas, but also maybe bringing QPR and Huddersfield into it as well as a kind of a grouping of teams who have set a low block to kind of thwart. Obviously, Tommy scored at Huddersfield. Do you see that as a trend with this team, that you haven't quite figured out a way to break through that, or are they games within themselves?
Yeah, no, I think in terms of when you look at them, what we haven't done in any of them games is give up chances. So even, we lose to 1-0 to Millwall, but if you actually look at it, they didn't create a bundle of chances against us, and it was a set piece that we conceded from. So the same as you go back to Birmingham, didn't have any chances, which again, I think the big bit then for me is how do we turn the control element into chances, which that happens out on the grass. At the minute, all the work the lads have pretty much had to do. We haven't trained for the best part of 3-4 weeks, so all the work that you see on a Saturday comes from walkthroughs, comes from video work or animations, which is difficult to replicate the real thing, the real spaces, the speed people move at, how quick you have to move the ball, the decision making, the time you have to make that decision is difficult to replicate when you don't train. So again, I think that when I look at those games, I think we did a terrific job of controlling it and not giving up chances and not being, so overcommitted that we leave ourselves vulnerable at the back. I think we've done a good job of that. I think it's then how do we turn that control into more chances, which, again, a tiny bit, as we spoke about personnel, but I also think it's then understanding how do you, and that comes back to the bravery, being braver with your decision to play forward or to ask the question or to go 1v1 or to commit bodies into the box. They're bits that, again, I think, as you're learning how we play the way that we do, I think that takes a little bit of time.
Thanks, Ian.
No worries.
Just wondered, in your time at West Ham, I think you just about crossed paths with David Moyes when he was there, probably for about 6 months. How much interaction did you have? How much involvement was there between what you were coaching and what he was managing?
No, very, very little interaction, to be fair. We were on split sites, so we didn't spend a huge amount of time after. I think that the small bits I did see in terms of his work intensity, how he went about it. I think he was present at the 23s games, so it was a very, very short window. So I didn't really spend too much time with him, to be honest.
Yeah, and in terms of the game this weekend, I hear people describe it when you get a Championship Cup playing a Premier League club as a free hit. Do you see it that way, or do you think it's maybe a bit disrespectful to your chances?
Yeah. I don't listen to the noise too much, to be honest. I see it as a great opportunity for us to go and test ourselves against an informed team in the Premier League. So, probably a bit more pressure on them than us in terms of they'd be expected to win, given that you look at league tables and obviously how they're doing. So, if you want to call it that, no problem. But for me, it's like I said, a terrific opportunity for us to go and test ourselves against a team at that level.
How do you think the players will take to the situation, the fact? Big ground, 9,000 travelling fans as well, who are going to make it a superb occasion, aren't they?
Yeah, unbelievable. When I heard the numbers, it's terrific in terms of the support, and Watford's one that jumps to mind straight away in terms of how terrific that day was with the noise, the connection between players and fans, and that's on us again. For the fans to really drive the players, get behind them, support them, and the same for the players to then naturally, again, obviously, going to test yourself. Make sure that we apply ourselves. We have the right level of focus. We don't just go and play off excitement and emotion. I think that's quite important as well. That you can sometimes, get giddy by the occasion rather than actually focusing on the game plan and our jobs.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just a quick one from me as well, Ian. If you can cast your mind back to the actual draw, do you remember where you were when West Ham were drawn against Bristol City?
Yeah, I was we had a game. We were playing, was it? Norwich, wasn't it? I was in the manager's office at Norwich, at Ashton Gate, so I was there. And Dave came in to tell me, as literally just as I was going out to watch the warm-up.
And what did you make of it? Because, it is a glamour tie for a lot of fans. We mentioned, there's 9,000 going to be going there, incredibly excited. What was your actual feeling?
Yeah. It's hard, you move on, right? I think people talk a lot, obviously, understandably, because I spent some time there, but I'm here now. This is where I'm really happy to be, and again, it was one of those terrific to get an opportunity to go and test ourselves, and for me to test myself against creating a game plan to to get success against the Premier League side. And again, I'm not I had a game straight there and then, so for me it was kind of park it to the back of the head. We've got another, probably I felt like we've had 50 games since the draw and now, so again I think it was one of those where you don't really have too much time to think and reflect on it.
And we have touched on the fans obviously, but there's going to be an awful lot, they're going to make a lot of noise. What's your message to them during the game?
Just a massive thank you for turning up to support us, and then let's make it as noisy and get behind the lads as much as you possibly can, because especially going there, it goes such a long way. I'd never underestimate the impact that the fans can have on a performance. Big shifts in momentum. So if we get opportunities, or we can control the game or create, I think that extra bit of noise definitely shifts the momentum in our favour. So yeah, get behind the lads as loud as you can.
Brilliant. Best of luck.
Thank you.